What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to Super Wild Card Weekend. Kevin Graham, 97.1 The Freak, here with Iisha Morrison of DallasCowboys.com. Girls Talk, Boys Talk. It is time to get you ready for Cowboys-Packers, a special rivalry renewed this time at AT&T Stadium at 3:30 today, as the Cowboys look to move to the divisional round to get back to where they were last year and hopefully take a step beyond that this year. And looking forward to being with you for the next hour here. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. You can find Iisha on Twitter at Iisha Morrison. Iisha, what's going on?
Hey, man. I'm out here in these streets before the game. Yo, I'm excited. I'm starting to get those jitters, but I'm not as jittery as I normally am. Like normally I'm a little, but this week the players in the locker room, it really, they'll say, "Oh, it's business as usual" and all that stuff. I feel like they really exemplified that this week, and just kind of paying attention to them, they just seemed normal. And I know I don't know how to say it in any other way. It's just like I know that of course the intensity is gonna take an uptick and everything, but it didn't feel like before the 49ers or anything like that. It felt like they know the place that they're in, they know the team that they have, and they just gotta go put it on display.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like it will be for them, is just another opportunity to prove what they've been so far this year. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Ben already hanging out with us, a little Matthew McConaughey. All right, hanging out with us here on the show. So y'all come hang out with us. We'll be with you for the next hour. You're going to hear from Jourdan Lewis during the show as well. I had a chance to sit down with him for a few minutes. Really interesting conversation with him. He kind of detailed, the mindset not only of this team going into today, but kind of the turning point for this team about when that switch was flipped for them going into this postseason. So we'll play that a little bit later on in the show, about 4 or 5 minutes or so, that conversation with him. So as we get into today, you talked about the excitement, obviously, for these players, a chance to win another playoff game. I want to start where every NFL team starts, because the quarterback position is so vital in today's NFL. And Dak Prescott last year, with the broken thumb, missing 5 games, leading the league in interceptions. But this year, 36 touchdowns, leading the National Football League, 9 interceptions, an MVP candidate throughout the course of the year. I'm just excited for him to be able to put on display on this stage once again everything that we've seen from him so far in the regular season. For you and your evaluation of this player throughout the course of the year, what for you has been the biggest difference for Dak in what we saw from him last year, but more importantly this year, to kind of getting back to the player that we believe that he's capable of being?
So I think number one, I'm gonna cheat because I'm gonna say 2 things. Because I think one begets the other. I believe watching Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott's connection grow has played a huge part in their success. And it sounds at the sidelines is something that I cherish. I'm so glad that the media team does it, because it gives us a little peek into their world and their conversations. And even last week, you caught on sounds, Dak and Mike McCarthy just talking about, taking the ball. Okay, do you want to take it at this hash? Do you want to take it at that hash? Whatever. And I'm not saying those conversations weren't happening before. I'm just saying I didn't hear them. And it just feels like that connection has played a huge part. I mean, Mike McCarthy also, too, this is what I think he envisioned Dak playing like from the start. And so for him to have his imprint on the offense makes a difference. And with that, I believe that that's just made the quarterback very comfortable to play the game in a way that is not foreign to him, and that he can really dictate the outcome. He can make changes. He can make decisions. He can really use his QB smarts to excel. And so for me, I think that's the biggest difference. I think the OC and the quarterback are on the same page. But then I also think because of that, the quarterback has been allowed to play very free and comfortable. And in turn, we're seeing him play some of the best ball we've ever seen him play.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a renaissance for him at the position, and he's talked about it throughout the course of the year. The footwork and the timing of the drops with the receivers, being in lockstep with them, and just the quickness at which he's making decisions. but more importantly, making the right decisions with the football most of the time, which in this offense you have to be able to do, because with a rhythm-based offense like this, your ability to process information, deliver the ball on time, but also continue to keep this team, moving in the right direction from a play calling standpoint. I mean, Dak's been phenomenal this year, and my favorite moment of this year wasn't necessarily, something that he said, but something that one of his guys said to him that led to a career year. And CeeDee Lamb said it after the San Francisco game. So look, basically he went full Keyshawn on us. Like, give me the damn ball. Like, give me the ball and we're going to win football games. And to the tune of over 1,700 yards, over 130 catches, setting records for both receiving yards and receptions this year. CeeDee Lamb has been phenomenal and has put himself in position as one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver of 2023. And I think for today, what they do, we'll see how healthy Jair Alexander is dealing with that, that ankle injury. The focal point for me is 4 and 88, get after it and see, if you're the Cowboys, see if they can stop the two of you. And if they can't, I'm targeting CeeDee Lamb 15 times in this game and daring the Packers defensively, to stop it. And I don't know if they have the personnel to be able to do it today.
And that's another fun part about this offense. To your point, when you're asking about, the quarterback and what I thought of him, is that they have that in them now. And that matters to me, because I feel like back in the day, yeah, we would see Peyton Manning just freaking keep passing the ball to his number one receiver if they couldn't stop it. I'm not sure we've had that in Dallas. I'm not sure we've had that, because it's either been wide receiver by committee, or it's been, we got 3 number ones, and whatever the case may be. And so now I think that they have that mentality where they're going to play the matchup game. And if you can't match up, if you can't beat something, prime example, the swing pass out to Rico Dowdle the other week. Okay, we didn't get it the first time. There was a drop. We're going right back at it, because we see that you're not covering anybody. That's smart football. That's smart situational football, to understand in this moment, nobody can stop my guy. So why would I make things harder for myself? I understand maybe trying to make sure you implement some other things, for tape or whatever. But other than that, hey, man, if you can't beat it, I'm going to keep doing it. And see, your point has been phenomenal this year, and seeing his growth at the position, and just even his releases and the hand fighting and all of it. And a lot of people don't talk about it, but his strength is really next level. Like, I think people look at him and he's bigger in person. Number one, I know you've seen him, Kevin, like he's big in person, but this is a strong player and a smart player too, because I know you cover NBA, right? How guys in the NBA, do you see them go to the cup and you be like, man, like, this dude doesn't know how to fall? And I know and I know it sounds crazy, but I think some football players have to learn how to be tackled and it sounds nuts, but I think CeeDee Lamb has a good feel for the position, and it also is played into his availability too. Oh yeah, absolutely not.
That's the alarm going off in Green Bay about what's going to happen with them and CeeDee Lamb today. That's what's about to happen today. The alarms have been going off in Green Bay because they know what time it is, because CeeDee Lamb about to put it on them today at AT&T Stadium.
Do I need to mute myself?
No, you good. Like I said, that's Green Bay. That's their own problem. That's their own problem today.
Nah, they got to be a little. I mean, Jair not being able to go is a big deal. And then also too, if I'm not mistaken, AJ Dillon is not going to go. And to me, I know Aaron Jones is Aaron Jones and all that stuff and blah blah blah, but I don't want to deal with. I didn't want to deal with Dillon. And even so, in the locker room this week, when I mentioned to some players like it was a possibility he wasn't going to play, I'm not saying they were a little like, but I'm saying they were a little like, because when you're in the tournament, Kevin, dog, like, you got to play a game next week. So he's a bruiser to me. Like, Aaron Jones is going to attack you in the passing game. He's going to hit the edges. He can do some things between tackle, but that's not his game. Dillon is just trying to run at you. Dudes probably be sore after playing him. I'm glad we ain't got to see him. I'm glad.
Look, the thunder lightning of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, because Dillon's a back that can wear on you as the game goes on. Aaron Jones going to hit you with the quickness, can obviously run between the tackles, but Dillon is the guy that's going to punish you come the fourth quarter, and you don't want to have to necessarily, deal with that. So, again, another thing for the Cowboys, if you're looking at matchups and specific players for them and who they're going to be facing today, just another thing in their favor given what they're going to be going up against. And look, no disrespect to Green Bay. This is a young football team, the youngest team in the National Football League. Jordan Love has taken a really big step this year with 32 touchdown passes. So you give him a lot of credit, and the way that he's been able to develop. It's not easy stepping in, for Aaron Rodgers, but he's been able to do it and grow. And you give Matt LaFleur credit for helping him, grow throughout this year. I just look at the talent disparity between these two teams. Christian Watson may not be healthy today. He's dealing, with a hamstring injury, so he may be a little bit compromised as well. So I feel like if you're the Cowboys, the biggest thing today is do not beat yourself. Don't even give the Packers an opportunity to feel like they can hang with you in this game because, and I think you've mentioned it, teams like this, they don't know better in terms of the Packers of what I'm talking about here. Young group, not necessarily supposed to be here, maybe a year ahead of schedule, but yet here they are with an opportunity to take on the Cowboys. If I'm Dallas today, I am putting the fear of God in them, hello Sunday, and making sure that they don't know that they know that they don't have a chance today in today's game. How are you approaching it? Are you taking the ball? Are you deferring? How are you trying to set a tone if you're the Cowboys against the Packers today?
Well, I personally think you 100% defer.
Okay.
That's no. I think you take the ball this week, personally.
Okay.
Now deferring, it can work out in your favor because you do the, middle 8 and you can work that and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that matters. And I like that Mike McCarthy did it last week because the Cowboys have not been good in the third quarter. They've been one of the lowest scoring teams in the third quarter in the NFL. So I thought it was important for them to get that score before the half and then get that score right after the half. However, when you look at Green Bay, you look at this young quarterback and just kind of how they really use the run to set up the pass. Heavy play action, things of that nature. They really work the intermediate game, which requires the run game. I don't want to give them a chance to feel like they can really just run the ball. Because to me, I think that their best bet is to play keep away. And that's what a lot of teams want to do. They understand the quarterback you have over there. They understand that it's not that many teams that can stop 88 right now, 88-4. So to me, I think you get up on them, go score, and you allow your defense to do what it's already designed to do, and they can get after the passer. Because I feel like one thing, and Kevin, you could tell me one thing I've noticed about Dallas, and they did it last week too. They have, I call it a kill switch. They have, when they see that they can go take a game, especially at home, you'll see the offense score, and then you'll see the defense come out and get a 3-and-out or a turnover. And then even so, you'll see special teams do something crazy also too. You'll see the defense get a stop, then special teams has like a block punt or something like that, and then the offense can go out and score. I think they really know how to turn it on. And so for me, to your point that you said earlier, I think you got to turn it on early.
Yes.
Real early, like right away. Our intensity is stronger than yours. Our will is stronger than yours. Let's go out here. Because to your point, if you look at Green Bay and you looked at some of their games, there's been times where they could close these games out. There's been times where they've had leads and they've had the opportunity to go ahead and stuff, but some of that immaturity peaks in. They're one of the most heavily penalized teams in the NFL as well as the Cowboys. So I do think if you put them in some rough spots and go up on them, you can make them have to make some decisions and maybe get them out of their comfort zone, which plays into your defense.
It's funny that you brought up in terms of some of the penalties because an interesting note coming from ESPN Stats and Info when it comes to the officiating note for this game. So the Cowboys this year have been exceptional this season at drawing coverage penalties from opponents who have been flagged an NFL high 31 times for defensive pass interference, defensive holding, or illegal contact. It's a big reason why the Cowboys led the NFL this year with 43 first downs via penalty. So maybe to your point, taking and being aggressive down the field with these corners, especially if Jair Alexander is going to be compromised, that plays into the hands of CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, to a lesser degree, obviously, with Michael Gallup and Jalen Tolbert. The more aggressive you can be down the field with these corners and putting them in pressure situations, you may be able to get some free first downs because of the abilities of these guys to be able to make plays down the field. Jake Ferguson is a part of that as well. So that could be part of the game plan today is how aggressive will this passing offense be, which is the best part about this offense this year in trying to force the issue against these Packers corners to see what they can do today.
So you're telling me that Michael Gallup is going to have that pass interference? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it sounds like it's possible, but also to your point, when they're at home, the quarterback in his cadence, and that's again, dog. Like we talk about when you say what's good about the quarterback, what's changed,
Mm-hmm.
his cadence is such a big part of what he does, which makes sense because Mike McCarthy's always been like that. That is such another element of the game that doesn't get as much attention as I think, because when I think about Aaron Rodgers, I think about when he would catch you substituting. I think about him drawing you off sides and getting a free
Mm-hmm.
and making you pay for doing something or having a penalty. I think about all those, and again, how he manipulates his cadence, getting guys to jump and all that stuff. That's one of the reasons why he's my favorite quarterback all time. But we're not going to go there. But anyway, I and you're seeing that with Dak Prescott. So to your point, not only do I think he may do some of that, on the back end with the receivers doing the work there, but I also think he might manipulate the line of scrimmage, which he has done time and time again. When you look at Green Bay, they are super high in stunt percentage. I think they're number one in stunts. They're trying to figure out a way to generate pressure because they're not getting consistent pressure with their front four. So they blitz and they stunt and they do all this stuff. I fully expect for Dak to be like, oh, well, let's run play, Tony. Go ahead. I think we can see some draws. I think we can see him change some things at the line of scrimmage based off his favorable, whatever he sees is favorable. So to your point, I think he's going to be able to do that on the back end and also to do some things at the LOS.
From Ben, he says, I feel the best way for Green Bay to stay in this game is to mimic the Bills' game plan on offense where they play Dallas, attacking the edges in the run game with Aaron Jones. Do we think DQ has a playoff answer for that today?
Well, I mean, go ahead. It's your show.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I will say I personally feel like the Dallas defense has contained the edges far better this last, well, however many weeks it's been since the Buffalo Bills game. But if you're asking what the solution is to that, I think the solution is that Donovan Wilson is playing like that Donovan Wilson you've been looking for. He's typically the robber or the free guy that they like to play the line of scrimmage. And you also have corners who are not afraid to come up and tackle. Jourdan Lewis made some clutch tackles on the edges coming up and tackle in the last couple of weeks. So and also too, we've seen the usage of Micah and the way that Dan Quinn, and this is a small wrinkle where Dan Quinn is kind of aligning Micah right behind Damone Clark, kind of in the B/C gap, and it's allowing Damone Clark to come from the middle or Micah to come from the middle and make plays and draw defenders out the way. That's a wrinkle that we hadn't seen either. So I think they have found some solutions to contain the edge better. And then also too, I mean, ain't nobody really trying to run that tank side, because if you are, what you doing? So yeah, that's how, I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to see a whole bunch of things different, but I think the safeties coming alive towards the end of the season matters. I think Jourdan Lewis coming alive towards the end of the season matters. And also, too, Dan Quinn doing some things using Micah in the middle of the field has made a difference as well.
And we're going to hear from Jourdan Lewis a little bit later on in the show, talking about some of the things for the Cowboys that they feel like they can be able to do today against Green Bay to be able to have a chance to win. And, we started to touch on the defense a little bit. I'm excited, for this defense today because, Micah Parsons, second team All-Pro, DeMarcus Lawrence, terrific Pro Bowl year. Pro Bowl caliber, he's been fantastic. And this defense, which we thought coming into this year, Iisha, was going to be the focal point of this team. Obviously, things kind of flipped and the offense really took over. Give Dak Prescott and this offense a lot of credit. But this team cannot go where they want to unless this defense, which we have seen at times be dominant. We've also seen this defense at times be a little sketchy. Which defense does Dan Quinn show up with today and in this playoffs? Because they're going to need the best version of themselves to be able to handle themselves in these playoffs, because between Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, the back end of the secondary, all hands will have to be on deck. I don't care if you're playing the Packers, Lions, whomever. This defense has to be a major reason why this Cowboys team advances deep into the playoffs this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, because when you look at the other side of the ball, the strength of Green Bay is clearly their offense, right? So you lean on that. They're going to make decisions based off of how good their offense is. And so for the defense, it's going to be a job to make them one-dimensional, to stop the run, to be consistent in that way. One thing that, the Cowboys pride them on in all the games that they've lost and they didn't do well, they didn't tackle well. And we've seen over the last couple of weeks, it's all hats to the ball. It's rally to the ball. They're going to have to bring that energy. I think there might be opportunities for turnovers here. I mean, when they're at home, they get turnovers, and they got a couple on the road in Washington. I'm hoping that they can build upon that, give this ball to the offense a few more times, and see what happens from there. But to your point, yeah, this defense is gonna have to come play and be a big part of why, maybe the major part. Maybe, I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, getting stops to me are the biggest part of what needs to happen today. Offensively, I personally think after the jitters, because I'm sure there's going to be some jitters on both sides. So maybe you do go play defense. Back to what you were saying before. Maybe you do go play defense. But I do think there's going to be a few jitters on the other side. I think once this offense gets going, there is not one part of Green Bay's offense that I think is just going to dismantle this offense. Now their pass rush does have some guys that can get after it. They have a decent rotation, but I think if Dallas leans on them early, it'll make a difference in the game.
And you talked about a little bit in terms of some of the stunts that, Green Bay runs and some of the different things they try to do to confuse, offenses. This is why it's so important for today. Your starting five of your offensive line: Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. The five guys that we have wanted to see all season long are there when it matters most in the postseason. And that's another thing, if you're a Cowboys fan, you can take some solace in, is that you've got your quote-unquote best starting five out there. Yes, banged up. Tyler Smith dealing with the plantar fascia injury, but at the same time, they are out there and they're ready to play. And if they are clicking on the cylinders that they need to, hello, Tony Pollard, you may be able to run the football a little bit today, along with obviously doing well in pass protection. This offensive line, as we talk about, whether it be offense, defensive lines, the trenches matter. The Cowboys are going to be at full strength today when they take on the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, getting the offensive line together. I mean, obviously Zach was out last week. Tyler's been dealing with the plantar fasciitis. You know what's so crazy is, like, when I think back, I remember because we talked about it. When I think back to training camp, before training camp, and we're talking about this team, two of the biggest things that people were nervous about were offensive line depth and one has reared its ugly head throughout the season, but the other one, we got to find out, like, okay, man, Cowboys got some decent depth pieces also on this offensive line, which to me does come into play when you start talking about trying to make a deep run into the playoffs. I thought it was really good this year for us to get a look at a TJ Bass, to look at a Brock Hoffman, to see these guys operate, an Awesome Richards a few times, to see how they operate and see how they're able to play the game. I don't know about you, but I was pleased by what we've seen from the backups, even though, we're talking about the starting lineup. I think it is good to have them all together. And also, too, it allows Mike McCarthy to do all the things he wants. And
yes,
it's crazy to me, and it be making me mad. I ain't gonna lie. It be making me mad when coaches act like they don't change their playbook based off of
personnel. Yeah.
Out there. Now, I will say, if you got a TJ Bass at this point, you probably not going to change a whole bunch. But if you got a Chuma at left tackle, baby, you better be changing it a little bit because he can't do what 77 do. So it's always crazy to me how they be like, oh, no, I didn't change much. What do you mean? He can't even get out on the edge and block. So how are you going to run some of your play? Anyway, so I'm glad that he's going to have his full arsenal at hand, given that the whole offensive line is there this week. I think if Dallas can block it up, there will be opportunity there in the passing game. I am looking at Rashawn Gary and the matchup with Terrence Steele. That's going to be a matchup, but I do think that Terrence has had respectfully tougher competition this year, and he's been able to be pretty settled there. So
yeah, I think that would be the only concern for me on the offensive line is pass protection with Terrence Steele, which hasn't necessarily been a strength of his throughout his career, even at times been a little sketchy in the run game a little bit. But as far as this offense, we talk about Dak and these receivers. I'll get to Jake Ferguson in a second, though, because I think he could have a big day as well against his linebacker group. You've got to be able to run the football, at least have this Packers team respect you in the run game. And I love Tony Pollard. I really do. My man had the quietest 1,000-yard season I've ever seen from a running back ever. He still wound up with over 1,000 yards, but it felt like the run game labored so much this year to be able to have even the minimal amount of effectiveness that it did. I'm not saying that I need the run game to, run for 155 yards a day, but I just need the run game to be respectable enough to create some respect from this Packers defense about what can be achieved offensively from the Cowboys today. And Tony Pollard has got to be him, Rico Dowdle in some cases have got to be able to establish at least some of that in my mind. Am I wrong in feeling that way as far as that's concerned?
No, you're right. This offense, I think this run game, number one, is gone as this offensive line is gone. We talked about the injuries through this year, but also too, I just think that's the part of the offense that has taken a little bit more time to catch on. Because I could be wrong, but I want to say there was like a 2 to 3 game span before, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where it felt like you saw Tony running hard. Rico was getting snaps. And so to me, I do think that they were finding some things that were working. Obviously, they had a decent day on the ground last week. I think that helps. But no, you are right. We are looking for efficiency at the very least from this run game. And especially, too, if you go on to win this game, you need to put good tape out there for these other teams. Like,
yeah.
You need them to come in understanding that they're going to have to take away the run and the aerial attack, because clearly the strength of the team is the aerial attack right now. I did expect the run game to change, but I thought I would see more of the running backs involved in the passing game, because that's kind of what the West Coast is like, which we kind of got to see a little bit of that last week. I wonder if that takes an uptick moving into the playoffs, and I would like that as well.
It was funny because I laugh when you say that, because I remember during the early part of the year, we would get all up in arms and excited because, oh, is that a screenplay? Those can be still ran in the NFL with running backs, especially for the Cowboys. Screenplays are available. That would be fun to see, potentially maybe a screenplay or two. Because look, I want to see Tony Pollard, and you can tell he's gotten a little bit better in terms of dealing with the leg injury coming back. And I think that's something that we forget about with TP, is that he's come back from a devastating leg injury, and you're seeing some of those things and some elements of it come back throughout the course of the year. Get my man out in space, let the ball get in his hands a little bit, and let's see what he can do it up on the field. And as Ben kind of mentioned it, let's get these offensive linemen to the second level and get downfield. Let's see what happens with these guys in open space, whether it be your tight ends, because I think Jake Ferguson, who's had a monster year this year coming into his own, I think he could have a big day against a linebacker core of Green Bay that isn't very good, doesn't defend the seam very well, which we know Dak and Jake Ferguson love him a good seam route. So I wonder how much today Jake Ferguson is going to play a big part of that. But again, the overall point being, get these dudes out in open space, because I think you can make some plays against this Packers defense today.
Oh, yeah. And then again, like you're seeing new wrinkles from the OC too. He understands what's going on with his running backs right now. I think Rico also being up and down, in and out with his injury has made a difference too when it comes to, touches and defenses getting other looks and all that stuff. So him being healthy going into this postseason, I think, means something. But I like how Mike McCarthy is also manufacturing positive runs by using some of our receivers. CeeDee Lamb sometimes out the backfield. We got to see Turpin come out the backfield. Those little things to me also make a difference. And you can't forget about Hunter Lipke, who I think has been super sound as a blocker. And there's some things that if Dak decides to go to him, he's open. He's there. And we know he can do some things in the open field as well. So it's, again, I wonder if we will see some wrinkles, as you were saying. But in this game in particular, I'm not trying to do all of that. Like, do what is working. And this team is not good against the pass. I mean, they're not good against the run, but they really not good against the pass. So for me, I'm like, yeah, you do want to keep them honest. You do want to set up play action. You do want to, maybe do some things to set up some big plays down the field. However, pass on first down, I beg of you. I beg of you. Please.
Yes.
Do some things in that nature. If you are going to run the ball, don't be predictable. Do some variations. Do some, so to your point, maybe we do see some screens or something like that, but I want the run game to be efficient, but it does not have to be the focal point by any means in this here matchup.
No, and I think that's a terrific point, because I think sometimes teams, when they get into the playoffs, they get away from what got them to the dance. And by this time, we all know what you are. Your offense is led by and predicated by your passing game. So don't get cute. And if you're going to be this team who's dependent on Dak and CD, Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, and these guys throughout the course of the year, be that and be able to put pressure on and make them. One of the things I want to see this Cowboys team do throughout this postseason, make them play to your game. You have, in a lot of cases, the better team each and every time you step on the field. Make them play your game, because if you can, now you get to dictate, how pace goes. You get to dictate what formation. You get to put pressure on these teams that you're going up against to make them defend you and vice versa, which I think is really important for me today. Get off to a fast start and make them play your game, because if you do, now all the pressure goes onto this young group to try and respond in a situation where most of them have not necessarily been in terms of playoff pressure. And let's see how they respond to you. Put the pressure on them. Let's see what happens today.
Heck yeah. To your point, when I think back at I got the Yannis. I'm sorry.
I know the Packers are boring. I know they are boring. I know it.
Yeah, but when I think back to the Miami game, that was when you say things like make them play your game. Early in that game, Dak missed the downfield play to Brandon Cooks. The team, they were playing that too high show. They were doing that, whatever, blah, blah. They were running that. And again, when a team is doing that, you have to do something to dictate them getting out of that. You have to do something to change how they're playing football. And so to your point, I agree. I do. I think they should go in early trying to score, trying to put the pressure on. And then from there, make them play catch up. Make them have to drop, to your point, make them have to drop back every play. That's playing your game. That's playing your defense's game and doing the things they like to do. So I'm hoping that they come out there and they put pedal to the metal as well.
This is a perfect time to take a quick break. I want to be able to get this because we started to touch on the defense here in just a moment here based on what we were talking about, and had a chance to talk with Jourdan Lewis this week ahead of today's game. And this is someone that you mentioned a little bit earlier, has really been coming on over the last several weeks. This defense trying to get itself in position to be able to handle themselves as the rest of this postseason goes on. Talk to him for about 4 or 5 minutes, and I want you to be able to listen to this conversation because there's a particular point in our discussion where he talks about the turning point about this team and what happened for them in that switch. And Jourdan Lewis, I think, points out. So let's play this conversation. Here's Jourdan Lewis. Had a chance to sit down with him this week ahead of today's game. Jourdan Lewis, Cowboys cornerback, here on our pregame show. Talking with Jourdan Lewis ahead of the Cowboys taking on the Packers on Sunday. As a veteran of this team, for those on the outside looking in, what does this time of the year feel like for you going into another playoff game?
It's time for us to, really make some noise, or actually get the job done. We're not just thinking about the postseason. We're thinking about, getting to the Super Bowl. So we're just thinking about our preparation and, our attention to detail and making sure that every day is, a championship preparation or a championship caliber day.
What does that look like from a preparation standpoint for not just you, but for this team and how you go about that mindset?
Just take every moment, like it's your last. Just like in the meeting rooms, just making sure you prepare your hardest, making sure you see all the keys and, reading everything that you can to make sure that, you preparing yourself to play the best way. So, just playing the game in your head, mentally making sure you're ready each and every day.
Last couple of years, the guys have been in this situation. What makes this year different or maybe feel different relative to what you guys have gone through the last couple of years?
I feel like we went through every, emotion, and I feel like every situation you can, and I feel like we're ready to take that next step, honestly. So, we felt success. We won a playoff game, and we also lost, some tough ones. So we feel like, we know what we need to do to, to tighten up those screws and make sure we can end games and come out victorious.
Was there a moment for you or this group this year where you felt like you guys turned the corner in terms of what that mindset and that preparation looked like, even with the expectations coming into this year?
I feel like after the Bills game, after we, our last real low, when we was we had to turn the corner because postseason is around the corner. We had to make this run for us, and we had to make sure that we're not looking for any excuse or any type of way out to to make sure that we finish the right way and make sure that we do it end things on our terms. So that's really what I feel like the difference is, and we know. I'm sorry. Where I feel like the turning point was in the season, just making sure that we can win those tough games and finish teams that we feel like we superior than them. So I feel like around that time, early December.
Yeah. For those on the outside looking in, how would you describe this time of year and what the feeling is like going into another playoff game?
It's always pressure, but with pressure, it comes expectations, and people expect things of you. So we definitely understand the pressure around this, the Dallas Cowboys, and we definitely want to, make sure that we put the best product out there, but at the same time, we have a standard that we got to hold. So we just think of just practicing every day as hard as we can and making sure that we can end games and win games.
When it comes to friends, family this time of year, how do you try to stay focused and locked in on the
holidays are over, so I got my last relative out the house last week, so just making sure that we locked in and ready to go, because Coach McCarthy talked about it Monday. He told us this is going to be make sure we got all of our our ducks in a row, and make sure we don't do anything extra outside of the building to where we stretching ourselves thin, because we trying to make a deep run in the playoffs and making sure that's our main goal.
Yeah, McCarthy talked about being selfish at this time of the year. What does that mean for you personally when it comes to trying and ensuring that you're helping this team?
Just making sure that this is our main focal point. Football. Just making sure that what we do in this building is our main thing, and making sure that we can get a win. Every time we step out on that field.
Appreciate you, man.
For sure. Thank you.
So appreciate Jourdan Lewis for hanging out with me for a little bit. As you heard in that conversation there, this is a team that's ready to get back onto the field and get their playoff season started as they take on the Green Bay Packers here. Kevin Gray, of course, Iisha Morrison, she'll be back with us here in just a moment as she gets back onto the line with us here. Appreciate you hanging out with us on our Cowboys Packers pregame show as we get ready for today's game between the Cowboys and the Packers at 3:30 at AT&T Stadium. Cowboys looking to advance to the divisional round. Appreciate y'all hanging out in the comment section as well. From my man Ben, pressure makes diamonds. That's for sure. Hopefully there's not a lot of pressure on this Cowboys team today from the Packers, because they should be able to handle business at the better team on the field today. Also, shout out to John Jones. Great show. Let's go Cowboys. Get this win today for more. And Ben, one more time, fire interview. Appreciate you, Ben, hanging out with us here on the show. Iisha Morrison back with us here on our pregame show. As again, appreciate Jourdan Lewis for spending some time with me today.
That was
as
good.
We get you ready. Yeah, thank you. Look, Jordan's been through a lot, with the foot injury, getting himself back to where he feels like he should be as a player. And you've seen that. You touched on a little bit earlier, Iisha, about what he's been doing to help this defense, and he's been coming on a little bit. He's got to be a big part of this defense as well as all these guys are, but Jourdan Lewis definitely getting back to some of the form where he feels like he should be as a player here.
Yeah, I mean, number one, shout out to Mike McCarthy, bro. I mean, listen, I know a lot of people are not a huge fan of Mike McCarthy, but one thing that I've realized about him is that the players really respect him, and I think it's because it's reciprocated. I mean, and sometimes you just need to hear, and I'm sure you had seasons like that where it's like, okay, you got to be selfish. You got to be selfish in this season of your life. And it does require you to make some decisions, maybe separate, maybe like to his point, like I got my last cousin at the house or whoever. Those little things matter. And I just hearing Jourdan Lewis say that he said that's, I don't know, that just means something to me, because sometimes you need it plain like that, Kevin. Sometimes you need to hear like, hey man, you're gonna have to be a little selfish right now. Everybody ain't gonna like it, but this is what you got to do if you want to go win. But in regard to Jourdan Lewis and what he's done, man, like number one, I didn't even know how serious his foot injury was before, and the stakes, and that it could have been career ending, and for him to not be fazed by that. Listen, Jourdan Lewis has been through so much, dog. Like, he was ridiculed by the former coaching staff because he wasn't big enough. And then Dan Quinn finally gets here. So you got to think, for almost half of his career, he was looked at as someone that was too small or whatever the case may be. And I just distinctly remember people being like, how is this guy still on this team? Because he's that guy. And
Yeah.
I know it means a lot to the players when they say, Dan Quinn puts them in positions to do the things that they're good at. And I feel like it's the same thing with Jourdan. It's like he's a sure tackler. He's fantastic. He plays big. He's not the biggest guy, but he plays big. He's so sound. I remember hearing him break down the nickel position and all that it entails, because you really are an extension of the line of scrimmage of the front seven, but also too, you're the connecting factor also of the secondary. It takes a lot of intellect to do what he does at this level, and for him to come back and to be playing the way that he's playing. I mean, don't forget about it. That Seattle game, he had 2 clutch PBUs in that
He
game.
did.
And he's playing sticky coverage, and he is going to have a bit of a task today with Jaden Reed, their speedy guy who has come along a lot in the latter part of the season.
Folks showing you love from Eddie Cruz, Iisha Takio-ish. That's right. Iisha bringing the fire today here on our pregame show, getting you ready for Cowboys Packers. And again, to your point, this is going to be a collective team effort, whether it be Jourdan Lewis, whether it be Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland, who's had a career year, obviously, as a first-team All-Pro, the back end of the secondary with Jaron Kearse and Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, who you mentioned a little bit earlier, been playing well. This group is going to have to be a big reason why this team advances deep into the playoffs, which kind of gets us to today's game. Obviously, for the Cowboys, a lot of expectations every single year. But I've told people, I said, look, if this was any other team, any other program, you would look at each of the last 3 seasons, regular season wise, for this team and think this is a program that's building and taking progression each and every year and getting better. Except we cover a team where that doesn't fly down here, because the birthright of this organization believes that they're to be in the Super Bowl every single year. But you give Mike McCarthy credit, this team and the consistency and, more importantly, the stability that he has brought for this team over the last 3 years cannot be understated. And now, having gone to the wild card round 2 years ago, losing to San Francisco, you get to the divisional round. Hello, you lose to San Francisco again. This is the time for this team with this group, especially knowing what kind of changes could be coming at the end of the season, to make their run now. That starts today, and they have a golden opportunity to do that. Give me an X factor for you today that's going to help determine the Cowboys beating the Green Bay Packers at AT&T.
Oh, it sounds small, but it's really big. Special teams. I think the special teams unit last week was able to get their footing a little bit, but to me, there's a lot of hitting yardage in this game. I believe starting field position will be so important in this game for either offense to be able to operate. I'm looking for hopefully Kevontae Turpin to be able to get some decent returns. Green Bay's kicker doesn't have a huge leg, so I think there might be some opportunity there for that. Also, too, when you look at Dallas on the other side, I haven't necessarily been super fond of their punt return coverage. I'm really looking at special teams. I feel like the offense and the defense are going to operate, but I think what could take the game over the top to me is how well special teams play. We talk about Brian Anger, how well he's played for a third year. He's such a hidden gem on this team, being able to pin those guys deep inside of their territory. When I know AT&T Stadium's going to be going crazy, that's another thing that I think is not really getting talked about a whole bunch, is the fact that although I think Jordan Love has been playing fantastic football, Cowboys have actually gained a home field advantage. And I think Dallas will put him in some situations in the play clock where they're making shifts or they're showing something maybe that he thinks he sees, but he doesn't see it. Hopefully being able to get some of those guys to jump early. I really think special teams is going to be an important part of this game and their overall success. And they also might be able to put the kibosh on something if it's looking like it can get out of hand. Yeah.
Shout out to Cowboys Beat. You guys do a great job. Really don't think these Cowboys are playing around. I think they come out, dominate, and win big today. You agreeing with Cowboys Beat on that one?
I don't think they're playing around. I don't. I don't get that vibe from them. And another key thing, Kevin, that was a fantastic interview. Another key thing that I noticed, because I heard Dak say in his presser, I think it was the week after the Buffalo game, is that they were doing self-scouting and reevaluating again. And That's one thing that I've noticed. Again, why is the quarterback playing so good? Because they have an OC that can hold himself accountable, and they are not afraid to make changes throughout the season. I thought that's been really huge. And to your point, even on the defensive side, I think that Dan Quinn has done some of that later in the season with Jourdan Lewis and those guys. And so for them to look themselves in the mirror, look at that tape, realize, okay, dog, like, we're getting close to the postseason. There's some things we need to either change or we have to fix immediately. I feel like that speaks to what this team has also become, and their success as well is the accountability is different to me. I think it's different this year. And so I do agree. I don't think they're playing around. I don't think they're playing around at all, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I know they probably heard all the noise about Jordan Love being young and he's looking so good, and their young receiver core and whatever. I'm positive they probably heard that too. So they're gonna be playing with a little chip on their shoulder, I'm sure.
No, I agree. And look, at this time of the year, it's the postseason. I don't care if you win by 1 or by 100. You find a way to win. But it would be really nice for this team to set a tone at the beginning of these playoffs about what they feel like they're going to be for the rest of this postseason. And you have a chance to do that against a young player today, against Jordan Love. So, we talk about this in terms of, some of the macro with how this team could be looking, at the end of the postseason, depending on what happens. Dan Quinn, obviously a hot head coaching, candidate going into this cycle as well. And I do wonder, to the human element of this, how much more motivated these guys may be, especially on the defensive side, knowing that this may be, quote unquote, the final run, if you will, with Dan Quinn, and what that means and how they go out and play. Not that they need to get over their heads and play beyond, what they're capable of, but how much more they're focused in terms of executing what they need to based on what game plans are presenting to them. I think a lot of that emotion will be seen starting today or it should be shown today, playing for Dan Quinn, the way that he's changed his defense over the last 3 years. And to your point earlier about the takeaways, this team is a house on fire when they take away the football. And if Deron Bland, let's say, finds a way to get a pick six today, that AT&T Stadium is going to be rocking. But I think the defense emotionally not only has to stay within themselves, but channel that towards something that I think can allow them to play really well today against the Packers.
Yeah, I feel like both sides of the ball need to come out like they're setting the tone. And it doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter if it's offense or defense. I want them both to set the tone. And to your point about them making this a good one for DQ and stuff. I mean, I think we heard Micah say this week he's gonna work the camera. Number one, he's gonna work the camera. But he did say, like, if it is his last time, we want to make it a great one. And I know they mean that. I know when he says that, he means that. But I just think this defense feels like they have some points to prove. So
agree.
Listen, I'm not a fan. I know some people like, I want to blow them out. I'm not a fan of blowouts in the playoffs, but if
I don't care. I just want a W in the win column. Just find me a W. That's all I care about.
Oh yeah. But I do think in the playoffs, how you win matters. How you win matters. And so, the stakes are higher. These are elimination games. Film breakdown gets a lot shorter because you're only looking at a couple teams. If the whole world watching, you better come out there and put out your best stuff, dog. Like, this is not the time to be coming in lackadaisical. Yeah, I think the defense is gonna fly around today.
Shout out to Higher Heights checking in from Jamaica. Shout out to you hanging out with us all the way from Jamaica. By the way, Montego Bay. Woo! Can't wait to get back. Oh yeah, you get a chance to go to Montego Bay? Yes. That is a piece of heaven on earth is Montego Bay for sure. So shout out to checking in from Jamaica. So look, last 10 minutes of our show here today, we've gone over a lot when it comes to what we feel like this offense can do, what this defense can do, and now looking at what this game is going to present today. Cowboys 7-point favorite going into today's playoff game, which, I mean, look, a touchdown favorite, especially at home, knowing how much they've dominated. I mean, that's a pretty heavy favorite for a playoff game. I think it might be a little closer, especially through the first three quarters. I feel like, though, the Cowboys will impose their will on this team as this game goes on. We talked about a lot in terms of setting the tone. Offensively, this group, if they find a way to put 10, 14 points on the board within their first 2 to 3 drives, and this defense is able to handle business, this thing could get ugly fairly quickly. I don't like to anticipate those kinds of things because it's the playoffs and anything can happen in postseason situation. But this team is better. They're more talented. They should be able to comfortably handle business today. I think offensively is where it starts for them. How are you feeling about what this game from a game structure standpoint may look like based on what you've done in terms of studying for this game today?
I as much as I'm saying, like, I hope they pass on first down, I'm pretty sure they probably still gonna run it.
But they need to pass it on first down. I agree with you. You talked about it earlier. Put the pressure on this Packer secondary. Make them defend you in the passing game because that's what you do best, and that's what they don't do very well.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of talk about stopping the run and Aaron Jones and what he does to Dallas. They hear that. They know. You know what I'm saying? How D-Law said, D-Law playing too.
That's right.
D-Law gonna be there too. Honestly, that's all I needed to hear, Kevin. For respect. That's all I needed to hear. When D-Law was like, excuse me, number 90 gonna be on the field too. I was like, oh, okay, they coming with that energy. I think, to your point, if Dallas can stop the run, and granted, I think Jourdan Love can still drop back, pass, do some things, whatever. But again, it just really plays into the hand of what this defense likes to do, and let's go hunt and let's go take turnovers. Let's go get the ball out. Also, too, they fumble at a high clip. Quarterback will put the ball on the ground. So I'm looking at, I think a turnover changes the game. I don't know where it comes from, but I think a turnover changes the game. As it always does, but I just think with Dallas, once they get a turnover, the offense goes and scores, and then all of a sudden you got a block punt, and then all of a sudden you got a fumble, a forced fumble or something on a return. Like, that's kind of how they play ball. It's very momentum based. So I'm really looking for them to get into a rhythm early. Now you got me wondering if they gonna defer.
Well, I said, look, I was in there with Knicks hanging out with them during the spaces today. I said, look, if I'm the Cowboys, I want to take the ball on offense because I want my offense to set the tone early on in this game because I want to give my pass rushers, Micah Parsons and these dudes, opportunities to get after Jourdan Love and get after him early and often, because the first time that my man gets hit a couple times by Micah Parsons or DeMarcus Lawrence, I want him to feel that early on and what the playoff intensity starts to build like on him and what he may have to respond to. So if I'm the Cowboys offensively, I'm better than you. Your secondary, I know that we can throw on you. Let's see if you can defend it from jump. And if you can't, now I get the chance to put my defense in the best position to play with a lead. And we know, as much as we don't like to say it, Cowboys are front runners. When this team gets a lead, they play with like a house on fire. So if I'm the Cowboys, I would love to play on offense first. I know folks will say, look, let's defer to the second half. If we get a chance at the end of the first half to put points on the board, then we can double up coming out of the third quarter and then really put pressure on Green Bay. Offensively, I want this crowd to be in it. I want them to get a score, and let's see how Green Bay responds. I know that's where I'm at today in terms of what if they win the toss, what they should do. I know folks may be on the other side of it, which I don't think is wrong, but that's how I would feel going into today's game.
No, I agree as far as the crowd being into it early, because I do think like it is somewhat deflating, and I don't care what anyone says, when you start with your defense and the defense allows a team to drive down the field, or like we talked about, or they force a 3 and out and it's like all great and giddy and everything. So, but I do think there's more positive that you could get overall, because respectfully, I mean, you got a weapon regardless. All you gotta do is get across the 40 and go ahead and trot Aubrey out there. Do what you need to do. But to your point, I think putting the pressure on Jourdan Love is going to be important. When I'm watching him, one of the things that stood out to me was just how poised he was in the pocket. Now, sometimes you could call it poise, and then sometimes you can just say like he just didn't feel that pressure on him. Like he just didn't. That. And there are times where he'll just sit in the pocket. His left tackle will be getting walked into him, and he's like, yep, no, but he's tall and he's strong, so he's able to, to continue to go through his reads and look for things. So for me, to your point, you have to affect him physically. I don't think you can just pressure him. Oh, like we're so scary because we're pressuring him. Like Hell no. Like, you guy up. Like, he needs to feel your presence. I don't care if it's QB hits. I don't care if it's just those things. But they need to finish when they get the opportunity to get to him. And I do think it will make a difference as the game goes on, with him feeling the intensity of a playoff team, and experiencing what it's like to be in that arena.
Well, last 5 minutes of our show, that gets us to predictions. Throw them in there in the chat. Let us know how you're feeling about today's game in terms of a score. And let's see what we got. So we got one already in. Cowboys checking in from of course, with the Navy jerseys today. Way too many Navy jerseys, by the way.
Why is it? Okay, so it's because, so part of me thinks, number one, maybe it's because people just don't have, I mean, respectfully, this economy is nuts. Maybe the people don't have the money to buy a new one. But I also think some people just doing that to be, can I cuss?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they just doing that shit to be contrary. Because ain't no reason why everybody and their mama know that it's a whiteout. Everybody knows. Like, it's been in the news, baby. Don't try to play. It was in a newspaper.
All week. All week.
Social media, newspaper, whatever the case may be, there are several outlets that have let y'all know that you need to wear white, and you walked in there wearing navy blue. You know what? That's what I'm saying. Why can't we all just be on one accord?
Look, it's Sunday. All one accord, all sit in the pew, and let's all listen to the service. Let's all have a good time today. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Fake like we like each other. Fake like we can agree sometimes. Now that honestly pisses me off a little bit, but I'm not gonna let it take me there. But that made me mad a little bit. Cause why?
That's hilarious. By the way, he says Cowboys beat said 40-27. Dallas. We got a Packers fan checking in. I don't like that. 34-21 Packers. Boo to you. Cowboys beat says
22 points a game. Why all these people guessing 30 something for the Packers? Y'all have averaged 22 points a game, and that is after you guys decided to be able to play offense towards the end of the season for 6 to 7 weeks. Don't
let the church say amen. Yes.
Don't upset me. Don't upset me. Like, don't piss me off. You think Dallas is just gonna score 21 points at home when they've averaged like 38?
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen.
I'm not. Go ahead, Kevin. Run your show.
I'm gonna go Cowboys 31, Green Bay 21 today. I think the Cowboys put 30 points on the board. I think this defense comes to play. Again, this is with all due respect to what Green Bay has done over the last few weeks. A 7-point favorite at home. I think they win by 10. I'm taking Cowboys 31, Packers 21 to move on to the divisional round. What you got?
I'm taking Dallas 33-24.
Oh, okay. Single digits.
Yeah, listen. Think about playoffs is that if you're winning, there's other games. And I don't know if Mike McCarthy's just going to be like, if the game is won in like the fourth, I'm not about to just keep showing your stuff and doing extra stuff too. So that's how I look at it. But also too, I gave Green Bay 2 more points than what you normally score.
You're doing them a solid today.
Well, I do think they're gonna be able to do some things offensively. Jordan Love is good at improvising and stuff, but I don't know. If Aaron Jones comes in there and he runs the ball down our throat, oh well. But this is not that offensive line that was here that did that. And quite frankly, last year, if the Cowboys just run the ball and don't pass, where's that gentleman at? He's in there. He's in California with the baby powder blue and yellow.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. He ain't here.
What's wrong with you?
He ain't here anymore. We run the ball when it's situationally when you need to. So to me, they should be able to go ahead and take care of this game. It may be, to your point, I do think it might be a little at the beginning, because people have the bubble guts.
Yeah.
A little nervous, a little nervous. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I think they should be okay.
I should tell the folks so they can find you. What you got going on?
Yeah, man. You can find me on Twitter at Iisha Morrison. I put my name with 2 lowercase i's, so there's no discrepancies. It is not Leisha. It ain't none of that. It's Iisha Morrison. We will not be here, be in studio on Monday because of the weather. And well, actually, let me flip it. It's Martin Luther King Day.
There we go.
Number 2, the weather is going to be a little nah. So we won't be there Monday. We'll be right back Tuesday, but you can still be looking for me to act the fool on Twitter during the game. So,
well, you're welcome. This has been fantastic. Hopefully all of y'all have enjoyed it today here on our Cowboys Packers pregame show. Iisha Morrison of Cowboys.com. Girls Talk, Boys Talk, her, Jess Navarez, Nicole Hutchinson, and also Christy Scales. Fantastic show. You need to catch them Monday through Thursday. They know what they're talking about, and they're good at it. So make sure you tune in every single day at 4 o'clock every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4 o'clock. Check them out on Cowboys.com. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to subscribe to Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube, and hopefully you enjoyed the show. And go Cowboys, damn it. Cowboys get a win today. That's all. I don't care how you do it, Dallas. Just get a win. Just get a win. That's all that matters. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. I'll throw in one more because, show love. Shout out to Suzanne. Love you guys. Let's go Cowboys. That's how we'll end it today. For Iisha Morrison, my name is Kevin Gray. We'll talk to you next time here on Kevin Gray Sports on YouTube. Y'all be good. And go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.